important practice for soon-to-be mum Te Huia Taylor. Kōrero mai mo te hononga a ngā tikanga raranga ki te taiao.
Iau e mahi ana i enei mahi ka ki tino ki te he hononga nui tō te mahi raranga ki tō tātou taiao. Mena kāre tika ana ngā āhuatanga taiao e kore e puta mai te hua o te harakeke, e kore e pai ai tō mahi i o mahi raranga, mena he kete tēnā, he koro ai rane tēnā. No reira, ai me ora te taiao, kia puta mai ngā hua e pai ai tā tātou. Whakatinana tonu i ngā tikanga raranga.
Hiki ake te kohue.
From the Tupuna River of Waikato to the land stretched between Te Manukanuka o Hoturua, the Manukau Harbour, and Te Tai o Rehua, the Tasman Sea, sits Awhitu Peninsula, a place where Te Huia's tribe of Ngāti Te Ata has resided for over 40 generations.
Ko te tirohanga o te reo Māori, ko te taiao. I ahu mai tō tātou reo, tō tāua reo, i tēnei taiao tonu. He iwi wai mātou, mena ka tirohia tō mātou rohe, karapoti tō mātou whenua i ki te wai.
But in just a few short generations, everything has changed. Intensive farming on confiscated whenua has polluted their waterways and food sources. There are also consequences of an enormous iron sand mining operation and the burning of coal to fuel the sprawling New Zealand steel mills at Glenbrook, just across the water.
He wāhi tapua maioro I raupatu I ngā tau ko tahi mano e warurau ono te kau. Mai I te tau ko tahi mano I warau ono te kau mā waru. Kua maina e tauiwi te whenua nei mo te rino. Kua whairawa te kāwana me ngā kaiwhakahaere I ēnei mahi maina. He wai anō, kua whakataha ake te iwi.
So here we are on your whenua, on your marae, and just over there we can see the mining company.
Yeah, I think the saddest thing about it all is that I don't even notice it most time I come to the marae. That's how long it's been there, and that's how long this mining company has been a part of our iwi's history. But when I do think about it, I think about my tupuna, my mum's generation who have fought so hard to try and stop that mining company from mining our wāhi tapu, mining our koiwi. Engari auareaki, there's no results have come from it. So. Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, really.
At the forefront of the fight was the late Ngāni Minhinik, whose struggle for her land and people began at the age of 11.
Koera, ko tai mātu ki ngā kōti katoa, e whia tau korona mātu ki te kāwana, kāre whakarongo mai. Kaitiakitanga. Whakaaro nau, ko te nuinga o taku ao, koe tira. Aha kua he aha ngā mahi I tukuna a ka mātua tūpuna kia mahi e au. I roto I era mahi ka mōhio au ki ngā taonga me pewhia te tiaki.
Ōrākei Marae, June 2024, and veteran campaigner Mike Smith is leading a wānanga explaining climate change to rangatahi.
By our kaupapa Māori, listening to these kids coming through the kura Māori, the wānanga, they already got it in their hearts and souls, They know the difference between right and wrong. They know the difference between good and bad. And they don't need me to tell them what's going on.
But on behalf of them and so many others, Mike is leading a landmark case against what he claims are New Zealand's biggest polluters, Fonterra, Z Energy and Genesis Energy to name a few, and it's gone all the way to the Supreme Court.
The thing about court actions is that it's an action that only a few players get to play. It's an exclusive sort of thing. But from what I understand about the law is that the law often is dragged kicking and screaming along by public sentiment of the time. So for example, 50 years ago, if women wanted to get women's rights, they would have struggled because the mood of the public didn't support that. Equally Māori rights, equally gay rights. But when the mood of the people shifts, it drags the courts along with it. And so we all need to be part of that. That's something that we can all do. You know, I'd like to see the mobilisations that are happening at the moment also have climate messaging in it. So it sends a signal to the politicians.
Just last month, New Zealanders answered the call.
Thousands have taken to the streets of Auckland this afternoon to protest what they're labelling the government's war on nature.
Climate change, deep sea mining, fossil fuels, real anger on the street. And deep concern over the government's fast-track approvals bill, which is all about speeding up the consent process and cutting red tape.
Fast-track bill proposals would ruin this country for my children and everyone else's children.
One of the worst projects would be the seabed mining project in the South Taranaki Bight. They would be digging up 50 million tonnes of the seabed every year for 35 years.
I think the best thing that this government can do is chuck it in the bin. It is poorly drafted. It doesn't have the right controls.
This government here is probably one of the major threats to Māori people in terms of climate. You can see it in their policies. They've been rewinding or pushing back any of the positive climate policies in recent times. Horeka e whakaaro mō ngā rangatahi, horeka e whakaaro ki te taiao.
We're here for our culture, for our people, for our generations to come.
Put simply, the fast-track approvals bill is looking to make it easier for people, businesses, councils to deal with the likes of the Resource Management Act, Conservation Act, Crown Minerals Act. The government wants to streamline the process.
It's too hard to do things in this country, and it's not just my belief that that's the case. We know, sir, from the facts that it is.
And rather than letting the experts decide, the plan is to leave it to three government ministers: Nationals Chris Bishop, Infrastructure, Simeon Brown, Transport, and Shane Jones, Regional Development.
With this legislation, mining will be turbocharged.
We are opening up for oil and gas. We are changing the law. We are opening up the dock estate in appropriate places in Taranaki. We are not taking a risk with the unicorn kissing type of approach that characterises the left-wing approach to energy.
But experts warn that New Zealand's global reputation is on the line, the government's ambition for reducing carbon emissions being seriously at odds with proposals to restart drilling for fossil fuels. Either way, it's cold comfort for Ngāti Te Ata and Te Huia.
He wero hoki tērā ki te kāwanatanga. Hei aha tō hiahia ki te whakatere I ēnei mahi maina, whakakorengia ngā mea kua tīmata kē. Kua kite au I ngā pānga taiao, ngā pānga wairua, ngā taumahatanga katoa, kua taumai ki runga I a mātou ngā tīkata kei te pērā tonu. Me hia rawa ngā tau, me rongo mātou I au a taumahatanga. Kua nui.
Logan Riley is another young wahine Māori who is taking up Māori and Indigenous concerns over what they see as government shortcuts when it comes to environmental protection and rights.
For me, climate justice is really about dismantling toxic systems of power and creating community-led ones that honour life and sharing and generosity and those values that we hold within Te Ao Māori.
As a youth activist in 2021, India addressed the COP26 United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland, with an Indigenous perspective.
I cannot put it more simply than that we know what we are doing, and if you aren't willing to back us or let us lead, then you're complicit in the death and destruction that is happening across the globe. Land back, oceans back. This is an invitation to you. This COP, learn our histories, listen to our stories, honour our knowledge, and get in line or get out of the way.
Tino rangatiratanga combined with knowledge systems and connection to place or environment, that was the message, and still is. India tributes advice given to her for that speech with a known uncle from her marae.
As Uncle Moana said, if you don't look to the whakapapa of something, then you can't actually really know what the solution should be. And so, in knowing that colonial capitalism set us up for climate change, that's what we have to address in order to be able to really grapple with climate change.
The late Moana Jackson, a staunch Māori rights activist. He also strengthened Indigenous rights globally through his work on the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples.
The taking of power, the taking of land from Māori, actually resulted in the privileging of Pākehā.
He was heavily involved with the foreshore and seabed space, and I think that being a really important part of Māori activism as well is that intersectionality and that intergenerational aspect where we get to learn from those who fought the hard yards before us and that they can mentor us and teach us and help us do better.
Police use pepper spray and rubber bullets to disperse them.
Though Indigenous people make up just a small part of the world's population, Indigenous concerns have helped motivate global protest, including here.
Everything that the government is doing is against Māori, and we are not standing for it, so that's why we are here today.
Front and centre of Māori concerns around man-made climate is the fast-track approvals bill, and that it will breach Te Tiriti o Waitangi.
To engage with us respectfully, honour the settlement in spirit as well as in the letter. Ho mai he wā kia kōrero te take, kārea ngāti toi whakahe ana I te whakawhanake tāone. Kei pāhemo ngā taonga o te taia.
We don't have a government that's responsible enough to deal with the issues in front of us. They're not here protecting our papa and protecting it for ourselves, our children in the future. They just only think about themselves and today.
Back at Tahuna Marae in Waiuku, Te Huia sees the traditional practice of weaving and concerns over climate as inextricably linked. Both need protection and the clock's ticking.
Ka tino kite I te hohonutanga o te whakaaro o te Māori. Mena ka tirohia hine te iwa, ko ia te atua o te marama, o te pepi a koe kōpū ana, o tiranga mahiraranga nei. Nō reira, ka whakaaro, he hapea ngā hononga o enei mea e toru. Ko te marama tērā ia rua te kaimāwaru rā, kahuri, āheri te tonu tērā ki te āhuatanga o te wahine. Ka kōpū te wahine. Ko te kahu tuatahi o te tangata, ko te kōpū. I a koe ka puta ki te ao nei, anei ngā mahi, hei whakakākahu I te tangata. So when I think, my queer's generation started this, so this taki is supposed to be finished with me. It shouldn't go down to PEP. and we should be able to resolve it.
It's the commodification of the land and resources that has fueled the climate crisis and that disconnection. And we just have to sit with the discomfort of that and try and figure out a pathway through rather than going, oh, well, that's the way the world is. And so we've got to embrace that changing and just try and figure out what a pathway looks forward that is really grounded in our values.
We're staring down the barrel of a global catastrophe. It's an emergency. I don't see the police cars going down the road with the lights flickering or the planes flying overhead to fight the climate war. So, mā waia tū hei te aki tā tātou nei rawa, you know? Rātou, te kāwana, kā.